Hello, and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We are your hosts, Chris and Philly, co-founders of a multi-award-winning functional medicine practice, serving busy people with energy, mood, and gut issues.
While busyness, addictive doing, people-pleasing, and perfectionism might be the norm, it's not normal, and it's a major contributor to health issues.
Our goal with this show is to give you a holistic root cause approach to healing your body so that you don't have to continue doctor or diet hopping or popping a gazillion supplements hoping something might stick.
So get ready to heal your body, get your spark back, deeply connect with yourself, and step into the life of your dreams.
Let's dive in. Hey guys, how you going? Welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. Chris here with Philly. Super excited to bring this episode to you. We've got a few announcements to make, but today's episode is all about a video that's gone kind of viral on YouTube that we put out a little while ago. It's just out of nowhere. It's just kind of sprung up and gone gangbusters for us anyway. But Hun, do you want to tell us a little bit about these exciting announcements?
Yes. So we have been going around Australia. Well, we've done 2 book parties so far for our book tour for the Ending Body Burnout book that was released recently. Next week we're going to be in Brisbane. So if you live in Brisbane or Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, around those areas, we would love to have you come along and have some fun, learn the steps to ending your body burnout, find your spark. We're going to take you through some regulation, brain retraining practices. There'll be yummy, healthy food, refreshments there, book signings, photo opportunities, and look, our last one in Sydney was just a lot of fun. So you're going to come along and feel very energized and sparky after the event. There are limited spots, so please RSVP if you would like to come. I'll pop the link in the show notes. Also, so our episode today is on hiatal hernia, which is to do with the gut. You might be like, what the heck does that even mean?
What even is that?
We will get into it very shortly, but it is about gut health. And if you love this episode and if you're really struggling to get on top of your gut issues, especially if you're feeling stress, overwhelm, burnout, you would definitely want to sign up for our 3-day live training kicking off next month. This is for Natural Medicine Week and also to kick off the opening of doors of our Ending Body Burnout Method program, which we only open doors 3 times a year. So celebration for natural medicine and also welcoming beautiful people into our program. It is a free event. There are no strings attached. You can sign up at the link below, and we're going to go over. The title of the event is Stress, Burnout, and Why Your Gut Protocol Isn't Working. So would love to invite you to that.
Buska. All right. So this YouTube video, 37,000 views.
I think it's up to 40,000.
40,000 views and over 100 comments. That's good for us. We're
YouTube.
Super stoked.
So we did that video back in 2020, I think, for COVID, and it was just sitting on YouTube very quietly. And I don't know what's happened with the algorithm, but in the last month or 2, every day or second day that I go on there to answer comments and reply to comments, there's like another 1,000 views, hundreds of comments, hundreds of likes, and there were a lot of questions too around the hiatal hernia treatment that we demonstrated in the video. So we really wanted to do an episode today on what to do after the treatment and how to make sure that your stomach stays down, because that's what we're talking about. So a hiatal hernia is where your stomach actually slides up through the diaphragm wall and into your esophagus. So it wedges up into your esophagus. Very dysfunctional, not very comfortable to have this condition, and it's actually really common, like so common to have this hiatal hernia. So we thought that we would break down what it is again very quickly. It is in the original YouTube video, but especially what to do post the hiatal hernia release so that you don't have to keep doing it every day. There were a lot of comments on the YouTube video when we showed how to release the stomach. And they're like, oh, like, am I doing this 3 times a day? Do I do this daily? And I'm like, no, you literally only need to do it once, max 3 times a day. And then people are like, what? Really? I'm like, yes, but there are things that one can do if there are deeper root causes in order to make sure that that stomach stays down. So we might get into what are the actual signs of a hiatal hernia. Now, if you have had chronic gut issues, you've probably by now done an endoscopy or a colonoscopy. So that's where the camera goes down your throat or up your butt. Hiatal hernias can be...
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time.
Uncomfortable. Hiatal hernias can be picked up on an endoscopy, but only if they're really quite big. So a lot of people, when they have scopes, the gastroenterologist will write up a report. They're like, everything looked fine with the stomach. But if it's below 2 centimeters, or if you have a sliding hiatal hernia, that's where it's not always up in the esophagus. Sometimes it's down, but it can come up and down. Then you may have an undiagnosed hernia. So some common signs and symptoms that we regularly see in our practice are definitely gut issues, especially upper GI issues. So heartburn, reflux, low appetite's really common, and really any gut issues, because the stomach is one of the first areas where digestion takes place after the mouth. So if you're not digesting food in the stomach because it's wedged up into the esophagus, then it can lead to things like bloating, cramping, diarrhea, constipation. Some other things too, low appetite's really common, or where you feel like you have a meal and it feels like it takes hours to digest. Difficulty swallowing as well is really common, because if that stomach's halfway up the esophagus or like at the start of it, can be really hard to get food down into the stomach. Sometimes people can have a cough. Sometimes you can have chest, back, shoulder pain, because when the stomach wedges up into the esophagus, it actually puts pressure on the other organs and your muscle tissue. So it puts pressure on your diaphragm, which also means that some people really struggle to take a deep breath. I've had so many clients, because, breathing is really important for regulating your nervous system. We've had so many clients where they're like, oh, I feel like my breath stops at my chest. And when we look into, do you have a hiatal hernia? Kind of like 8 times out of 10 people do. Shallow breathing, also things like anxiety, fatigue. I remember we had a client who got severe anxiety after jumping out of an aeroplane, doing, what's it called?
Like skydiving?
Skydiving.
Oh, yep.
She didn't just randomly jump out of an aeroplane. She went skydiving.
What's it called where you jump out of an airplane with no parachute? Trigger warning.
Okay, so she went skydiving, one of her bucket lists. But when she landed, she said it really jarred her back and her hips. And from then on, for like 3 months, she developed anxiety, and she'd never experienced this before. She's like, it's like this doom and gloom. When I started asking more questions around when did it happen, what was happening, what other symptoms do you have, I'm like, I think you have a hiatal hernia. That impact from hitting the ground caused your stomach to wedge up into your esophagus. When we released it, she, literally her anxiety went. It was crazy. Now, that is not the only cause of anxiety, but sometimes it can be.
Jumping out of an airplane is would give a lot of people anxiety.
Well,
right?
that's what she thought initially. She's like, maybe I have PTSD, and also at the same time, her father was diagnosed with cancer. So she's like, maybe there's a lot going on personally. But literally, when we pulled the stomach down, the anxiety attacks disappeared. Some people can get really fatigued because if you think about, you can struggle to get oxygen into your system if you have a hiatal hernia, because it affects your lung capacity. And so then that can starve the brain of oxygen and definitely can lead to fatigue. Sometimes people can show up with a spare tire bulge, where it's just like, oh, I feel like I've put on all this weight below my rib cage, or the stomach's always sticking out, the gut. Sometimes that can be a hiatal hernia. And also,
like at the top, underneath the rib cage.
Yeah, kind of.
Power pooch, like power lifters,
Yeah.
strongmen.
Yeah.
I wonder how many hiatal hernias are in athletic lifting.
Well, this is where we're going next, actually. Common causes are exercise, like heavy lifting, especially if you brace your core, you hold your breath as you lift that heavy thing.
This is interesting. Right.
Yeah, what's your insight?
Oh, it's just like I just think that sort of power belly, it's called commonly in powerlifting, strongman, athletic lifting, weightlifting, that sort of stuff. I wonder if it's less to do with
abdominal muscle tissue.
Yeah, and more
fat.
to do with it's your actual intestines.
Well, yeah, your dysfunctional anatomy of the gut.
Yeah, interesting. Super interesting. That's cool.
So, and it's not just gym. Like, it's also, you might be lifting things at home, cleaning up. You might be lifting a couch or a heavy pot or a heavy child. That pressure can cause the stomach to pop up. Other things where that pressure is there, where you're not functionally breathing out while holding or bracing your core, could be constipation. So if you've had chronic constipation, that can then flip into also a hiatal hernia issue. Pregnancy, imagine everything's moving up and out, and for some women they can have a hiatal hernia when they're pregnant, which is also really common if you get reflux in pregnancy. And even after pregnancy, again, we've had a lot of clients too where post-birth they are still getting these gut issues or hiatal hernia type symptoms, and it's because the stomach hasn't been able to come back down on its own. An impact to the gut, so that might be punching, someone punches you in the gut, maybe you're playing sport, a ball hits you in the gut, skydiving, as I said before, where it's less about like something touching your gut and more about just like jarring your whole body. Coughing and vomiting. So if you've had a history of maybe bulimia or morning sickness, or you have caught a horrible gastro bug and you've been vomiting a lot, or if you've got a nasty flu and you've been coughing heaps, then that can also wedge the stomach up. And stress is a big one. Stress is huge because you have what's called the vagus nerve, which is a nerve that connects from your brain to your stomach. Stress will absolutely dysregulate this vagus nerve. And if that's dysregulated, then the stomach spasms and it can literally wedge up into the esophagus as a stress response.
Super interesting. Gee, I wonder, so distension, where belly presses out, a lot of people think, it's all in the gut. It's the food that I'm eating, all this sort of stuff. Yeah, it probably is, but maybe this might be thrown into the mix of possible guesses.
Yeah. Possible contributors. I find too, like those signs and symptoms I was reeling off before. It's very rare that it's just a hiatal hernia. There's usually other contributing factors going on. Sometimes it may just be a hiatal hernia, like the example of the lady with anxiety post jumping out of a plane. Okay.
Yeah, because that's not super common.
Not super common, no.
I wonder if it's super common for people who do jump out of a plane, though.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Hey, if you jump out of planes regularly, can you just let us know if you've been experiencing any of these signs and symptoms of hiatal hernia that we've been going through? That'd be super interesting. Leave a comment down below.
Yeah. So I really got into hiatal hernia because if you've been listening, a long-term listener, I've spoken on a few episodes of chronic heartburn, which was a contributing factor of lots of different things. Histamine was one of them, but definitely I did end up having a hiatal hernia. And until I was able to pull that stomach down, like, it was very hard to get any healing happening when your anatomy, your structure is all out of whack. Okay, so there were lots of questions on the YouTube video, as I mentioned before. We also had some troll comments. You know that you've made it when you have some troll comments. Do you remember what they were all about the same thing?
Scarf.
My scarf. I should have wore the scarf. I think I still have it, although maybe it's gone to Vinny's by now.
Well, let's be honest. Like, what you've come here you've probably searched out hiatal hernias, and the first thing that you have to say is about someone's scarf. That's super interesting. That says a lot about, you're not to be judged by your behaviors, but your behaviors give the most important information about yourself. So that's given some great data. What is this?
What is this?
Perfection. Black and white. Unrealistic expectations, external judgment,
A frustration
validation.
with others is always a frustration with self.
Constant expectations around appearance and aesthetics, judgment,
Yeah.
insecurity.
Anyway, I really liked
Interesting.
that scarf. Just for those people, my sister knitted that scarf, so it was a really special scarf.
I hope you feel really bad about yourself.
I
No, just
think
kidding.
I think someone said,
Just kidding.
is that like a boa constrictor around your neck?
I answered a couple. I was like,
It's a scarf.
it's a scarf.
It's a scarf.
Is that a scarf? Yes.
Anyway, I thought it was funny. Thank you for
was
letting
very
me have
funny.
a little giggle.
I was like, yes, more comments, please. Drive up our algorithm.
Now, most of the comments, however, were follow-up questions around the treatment. Now, if you haven't watched this YouTube video, we're going to put the link in the notes to this episode so that if you're curious around, well, what is this hiatal hernia release treatment they're talking about?
What are you even talking about, Philly and Chris?
I'm not going to go through it on the podcast because it's much easier to understand how it works by watching the video. But there were a lot of comments around like how to prevent relapses. How many times do I need to do this? If my stomach keeps popping up and I've done this once, twice, 3 times, what else can I do? And so we'll dig into those. There was also a really lovely comment from one of the viewers that said, I've watched, I think he said 20 of these hiatal hernia videos and yours is by far the best. So I'm like, thank you. That outweighs the scarf comments.
Your external validation
External
comments
validation.
meet my needs for certainty and connection.
Not that I needed to hear that because I know it's pretty darn good. Okay. So first of all, manipulation of the occipital lobe, which is, if you're listening to this podcast and you're able to actually touch the back of your skull, you'll notice that, so you've got your spine, and then on either side of the spine at the bottom of the skull, there's 2 little indents, almost like hollows. So those 2 areas, if you give them a rub, although it's actually better if someone else touches them, because often when you touch your own skull, you don't feel much. If someone else touches it, you can feel if there's tension or pain there. So if there's tension or pain there, you really want to make sure that that is released, because this helps to stimulate your vagus nerve, so that nerve that runs from your brain to your gut. So if there's a stress, overwhelm, burnout component to the hiatal hernia and gut issues, then this is a really lovely manipulation technique that you can do to help release that vagus nerve. And sometimes if I've done the hiatal hernia, like either in person or I'm taking it through with a client via Zoom, they'll do the release. So there's a place where you basically touch your gut and it helps to release the stomach. But what I've found is sometimes people do that release and they're like, oh, it feels no different. And I'm like, okay, let's do some manipulation around the occipital lobe. And that is magic. Like, it then just like allows that stomach to drop down. So that's really important. Also, I think about scar tissue that can be built up along the rib cage and diaphragm wall. And that's really common when you've had a hiatal hernia for a long time, because that stomach wedging up in the wrong place causes little tearings of the diaphragm wall. And over time, it's trying to heal itself. And so you can have some gnarly scar tissue build up. And so in that case, again, it's easier to get someone, or more reliable to get someone to just kind of like rub along your rib cage to see if there's any gnarly spots or any painful spots. And if there is, then you want to massage those out. Now, either... Might be the postman. So there's different types of techniques that you can use. Now you could reach out to a massage therapist if you want to get someone professional to be able to break down that scar tissue. You've done active release?
ART, active release techniques.
Yeah, active release techniques, really good. But you can do it yourself. Really, you're just wanting to pull apart any adhesions, any scar tissue, You can do it gently if it hurts. Sometimes I hold it on there if I'm doing it to a person in person and allow them to take a deep breath. And as they're breathing in and out, they're actually controlling the pressure in which the fingers are sitting there on those adhesions, and it helps to break that down over time.
Are you breaking down the abdominal muscle? Is that what you're
just
doing?
The scar
like
tissue, the
so,
gnarly bits.
So there's a technique called gua sha, which I really enjoy. Enjoy is not the right word. I find effective for breaking down adhesions and scar tissue. So it means skin rending or skin scraping, Chinese skin scraping. So you can either use your fingers with some, say, coconut oil, or you can get a scraping tool. That sort of stuff, like to break down scar tissue, is really good. Have you heard of using that in this instance?
Yeah, you could, but sometimes it's a bit tricky because sometimes you need to go right under the rib cage.
Oh yeah, you use a tool. So a cool tool that I've got is kind of like, it's like a tear drop kind of shape, and it's designed to get underneath bone like that. So using that skin scraper, you can buy them from cosmetic places, I think. I wouldn't know, but you use it on your face to break down collagen fibers or something like that. I wouldn't have a clue. But
Cool.
But anyway, that I've got like a couple of those. They fit really nice in my hand, and you can. I've never used it for this purpose, but I reckon give that a crack.
Yeah, maybe we'll do another little short demonstration video for that one. Okay. Always after you release the hiatal hernia, you want to do 11 heel drops 2 weeks post treatment. So every day.
What's a heel drop?
Okay. So every day for 2 weeks, when you wake up, before you have any food, drink a big glass of water. It could be a herbal tea as well. Some sort of liquid, and drink that pretty fast, because then that liquid's going to empty into your stomach and it acts as a dumbbell. So it's actually going to pull your stomach down.
Dumbbell?
A dumbbell. So it acts as a weight in the stomach. It helps to pull the stomach down to where it should be. And then you stand on your tippy toes. And then you drop down onto your heels.
So you do a calf raise up onto your tippy toes, and then you drop down,
foot.
and then the water, the force of the water dropping down into the belly, into the stomach, pulls it down.
Exactly. Yeah. So every time, just 11 heel drops. That's all you need to do. And every time you fall back down onto your heels, onto the flat of your feet, it pulls that stomach down.
Not 10.
Not 11.
Not 12.
11.
Why 11?
This is from recommendation of one of my mentors. Goodness me, I've just forgotten his name, but I'm going to put it in the show notes. He is amazing, okay. And he said 11 heel drops.
Gotcha.
Okay. No.
Cool. All right. Heel drops.
Okay.
What's next?
Hot water bottle. So if you feel like it's like, before I move on, so the point of the heel drops too is you're post the treatment, so that you don't have to keep pulling the stomach down and down and down with the initial YouTube treatment video. The point of the heel drops, and what I'm also going to say about the hot water bottle, is just to help to retrain your stomach to stay in place, so that over the next few weeks it remembers where it needs to stay, and you're doing the things that are going to promote the environment in your body for that stomach to be where it should be. So if you feel like the stomach's popped up, you can also use a hot water bottle just over your stomach. Sometimes that heat alone helps to relax the stomach and it can drop down. So that's another tool that you can use in the tool bag. Eating, the way that you eat is really going to impact whether your stomach is going to stay down and heal long term. So if you're someone, we work with a lot of busy people, addictive doers, perfectionists, people pleasers, go. And a lot of the time eating patterns are like, oh crap, I've forgotten lunch. Oh no. Or I've got 5 minutes for lunch. Quick, chow it down, eat it really quickly. Do it while I'm doing 100 other million things. Now that is not ideal for digestion. It's also going to put a lot of stress on the stomach because you haven't allowed the food to disintegrate and chew down in your mouth before you've swallowed. So your stomach's getting pummeled time and time again if you're eating really fast. So if you chew 10, 20 times before you swallow, take some deep belly breaths to help get your nervous system into a relaxed state, into the parasympathetic nervous system state. That then means that when this food hits your stomach, you're going to have a far better chance of digesting it in a really healthy, functional way, and it's just going to take off any stress to the stomach. Sometimes too, if it's a real chronic issue, eating small portions, I'd be thinking about meat as well. If you eat meat, just using that more as a condiment serving size while you're healing the gut. Low processed foods for sure. And if there's any sign that there's low stomach acid, low digestive enzymes, a lot of these things can be picked up on functional lab testing, then you would want to be using things to help stimulate stomach acid, digestive enzymes that will help to break down foods, which then takes off the pressure from the gut. So I love, like, there's some simple things that you probably have in your cupboard. So 10 minutes before eating, 10 mils of apple cider vinegar in a glass, drink that. That helps to stimulate your digestive juices. Eating bitter foods, lemon, citrus foods, bitter greens, all of these things from a food perspective can help support your digestive juices. And if you need to, I'd recommend working with a practitioner, but there may be some therapeutic supplements that you may need to use as well. Okay, couple of other things. So core exercises, really important. So a lot of the times our core isn't working properly. And then it means that it doesn't hold our organs in place effectively. So if you've got weak core muscles, then that just kind of like, it's almost like saggy gut. And it can allow your stomach and other parts of your organs to sort of move around in ways that they shouldn't be. So, Chris, what would be some of your favorite core exercises?
Stability stuff. So staying stable while you're in different postures. So planks or braces, side, on your front. They're my absolute favorites. I think if you're deconditioned, they're amazing. If you're conditioned, they're amazing as well. You can add load if you're really good, but really aiming for a good position rather than holding for length of time, I think is best. So that's stabilization, so resisting movement. Then you can also get rotation is really nice, or anti-rotation. One of my absolute favorite exercises of all time is called a Palloff press. That's an anti-rotation exercise, but stick with those couple of things, just bracing and rather than crunching and flexing and moving inwards like this, that's doing the wrong thing for the intent, I feel like, in this example.
Yeah, if you think about if you're just doing like sit-ups or crunches, then like, again, your intestines, your stomach are all crunching up again, and that can pop your stomach up. So I like those suggestions. Also thinking about functional breathing. So doing these core exercises, really important that you don't hold your breath. Because if you hold your breath, think about your stomach as a balloon underwater. If you hold your breath, it's going to, like, it needs to go somewhere. So if you're not breathing, your organs are going to go somewhere. So sometimes that alone can cause your stomach to push up into your esophagus. So when you're bracing, brace your abdominal cavity, and then while you're holding it, just practice breathing out.
So can go a little bit step further here. Okay, so the Valsalva maneuver is where you hold your breath and like you do that. Fantastic for generating large amounts of force and strength. You'd be hard pressed to see anybody who hasn't broken any strength records who hasn't done some sort of breathing maneuver like that. So don't do that. You're not after breaking world records or getting super strong right here. You're after healing your body. So don't force breathe. It's like we're looking for a nice, beautiful, even breathing. I would actually go close your mouth and breathe through. So keep your shoulders down.
Oh, okay.
Breathe into your belly. Relax your neck, relax your throat. Breathe into your nose, breathe out your nose, and don't overfill the airbags. Just breathe normally. Breathe, relax. You don't have to take such big breaths like that. Just breathe nice and normal.
Well, that's functional breathing, hey.
Right, yeah.
That's not even like you can have therapeutic breathing where you might be doing something like Wim Hof. Functional breathing is how can you breathe in
Normal?
a way that you breathe normally in your day-to-day life. And that functional breathing is really important in daily living too. So when you're lying down in bed to sitting up, instead of like a lot of people, if you pay attention to what you do, a lot of people will kind of, again, like hold their breath as they use their stomach muscles to sit up. You want to brace while you're still lying down and then just breathing out gently as you're sitting up. Same as if you're on the toilet and you're constipated and you're bearing down trying to get that poo out. A lot of people hold their breath, but again, just push if you need to. And I would also recommend getting some help around the constipation, but while healing, breathing as you're pushing, same as if you're picking up the baby, breathing out while you're bracing your core. Really important. Last thing in terms of things to think about post pulling the stomach down using the Hiatal Hernia Release treatment is really supporting your vagus nerve and your nervous system. So I talked about before that very simple technique of stimulating your vagus nerve by releasing the occipital lobe points underneath your skull. There's so much that you can do around this area, especially if you resonate with running overwhelm patterns. I'm always busy. I never feel like I can relax. I'm black and white thinking. I'm type A. I'm perfectionism thinking. I'm people pleasing, doing all the things for everyone else, never having time for myself. If you're running these patterns,
Choosing to run these patterns, even if it's an unconscious choice, which it often is, always is,
until you become aware of it, then doing like a simple little release to the bottom of your skull, it's not going to cut it because you're running programs. Your unconscious state is literally controlling every thought, feeling, and behavior that you have, and also the function of your body systems. And so there's some deep work that can really happen here that can fast track not just the healing of your stomach and keeping your stomach down, but healing your whole self. Any little tips around how to start with that or where to start, even around awareness?
Yeah, being aware that things tick you off is usually the thing that's closest to the surface. Someone's triggered you. I use the Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark analogy a lot. It's, Indy in the very opening scene walks through the catacombs, steps on a trigger, poison dart comes and gets him into the stick that he pushes on the trigger. But just at the end of that tunnel is the gold. And so I think we often get triggered and there's gold just around the corner. So for example, if you're feeling frustrated, triggered, annoyed, irritated, angry, sad, some sort of emotional trigger is happening, well, that's be aware of that first, and then ask yourself and try and understand the source of that. What are you telling yourself? What do you believe to be true about yourself? Take some responsibility, start to reframe and see things differently, get a different perspective, adjust your position, which then therefore opens up opportunities and doorways of choice that weren't available to you. And then apologize, say sorry to the people that you need to say sorry for, but you say sorry to yourself especially, and make a believable plan and find some acceptance and peace here for whatever. Go through that whole process for whatever's triggering you. That's my top tip. That's an acronym of AURA that I came up with. AURA, acceptance, understanding, reframe or responsibility, acceptance or apologize. I love it. Works really good.
Yeah. I think about trauma as well, which is all part of what Chris just spoke about. But past distressing events literally get stuck in your unconscious, and your unconscious is your body. So your gut issues, your fatigue, hormonal issues, whatever those physical symptoms are that are showing up for you, it's not just physical. It's always, we aren't just a physical body, we're a mental, emotional body. We're a energetic body, an unconscious body, a nervous system body, a spiritual body. And so all of this gets stored in our physical body because that's where the unconscious state is stored. So to really release these deeper unconscious core beliefs that you have about yourself that are causing you to stay in a fight flight response, to be able to rewire neural pathways, to be able to clear trauma from your system, all of this stuff is really important in order for your stomach to work at its best. We're going big here and holistic because that's what we do on this show and also in our practice. Your stomach is never works in isolation. So for all those people who put a lot of comments around like, what, do I just have to keep doing this in order to keep my stomach down? You could. Like, you absolutely could.
Manage it.
That is what I would call a management tool and a Band-Aid tool. You might get a bit of relief for a few hours after you release it, but, you know, and if that's okay, if that's how you want to live, cool, go for it. It's very similar to maybe you're taking a supplement that it's like, yeah, this gets rid of the bloating for like 30 minutes. Or, even like I put a app on YouTube and I listen to a meditation. I feel good in the moment, but then everything comes spiraling back. And that's because in healthcare, even in functional medicine, in natural medicine, people aren't addressing all bodies of themselves at the deepest root cause. So if things aren't working for you, if you're like, I've done this treatment from the other YouTube video and I've implemented all of these tools and strategies that you guys have been talking about today, but I'm still getting gut issues and fatigue and anxiety and whatever else it is that shows up in body burnout, then you still haven't, there's still deeper root causes to be addressed. So as I mentioned before, we're running a 3-day live event next month on stress, burnout, and why your gut protocol isn't working. On day one, we're really going to dig into the physical side of things. So in functional medicine, we ran lab testing that looks at really important body systems that GPs, medical specialists don't look at. And what I find too is sometimes clients who work with us have done some testing. If they've got like big gut issues, they've usually done maybe a SIBO breath test or a stool test. And they're like, still nothing has changed. And again, that is like such a reductionist model. They might think, or even the practitioner might think that they're doing a holistic root cause approach, but your stomach, your gut is not working in isolation. So it doesn't even make sense that you only treat the gut if you're getting gut issues. So on day one, we're going to look at, well, what are the other body systems that interact with gut health and that can show up as energy, mood, or gut issues? And as we support those as an integrated whole, then you can get long-term results. Day two, we're going to look into the presupposition that you are not broken. So a lot of people who have been dealing with chronic health issues, body burnout, busy perfectionism patterns feel like they're broken. They feel like their body is fighting against them. But in day two, we're going to flip the script and actually say, hey, you're actually not broken. These symptoms, this pain in both your body and in your life is actually there to serve you, and it's working perfectly. This session is so challenging but also liberating for people. It's a bit like a dagger to the heart. It's like, what? You're saying I created these issues? You're saying I created this hiatal hernia and this bloating and this fatigue and brain fog? What? I hate it. I don't want it. It's like, yeah, but you've created it, which also gives you power to recreate something new. And so we're really going to dig into why you can't heal. And that's essentially why, because you're holding on to these symptoms and patterns to try and protect yourself. And until you can see that for what it is and make a choice around, do I hold on to that, then you will remain sick long term. Day 3 is all about your brain controls pain. And so we're really diving into neuroscience here, which is so exciting, because you could do a bunch of physical protocols. Maybe you've even done some talk therapy or whatever, yet still your body is sending you symptoms and pain signals. And that is because the brain actually controls pain and symptoms. And over time, when you've had chronic issues, you've created really intense neural pathways that when you get triggered, that symptom shows up. So we're going to show you, really dig into the science behind that, and also how you can actually rewire your brain so that you can switch off symptoms. So this is free. Oh my gosh, like we should be charging for this because it's pretty...
$1 million.
$1 million. Even just from attending the 3-day live training, you will have so much gold that you can implement. We're running this as part of Natural Medicine Week, and it's also to kick off the opening of our doors to our signature program, which is the Ending Body Burnout Method,
Pew, pew.
which we are so excited about. It's celebration week in our business when doors open, because we only accept clients in 3 times a year. So really excited to bring that to you. I'll pop in the show notes a link to that if you want to sign up. And also remember, for Brisbane, Australia people and surrounds, book party next Tuesday. Be there. We will love to celebrate you taking the steps to end your body burnout, to find your spark. It's going to be lots of fun, lots of energy, lots of yummy, healthy food, because, I love food, and we'd love to see you there.
It's going to be awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Take good care, and you know what? Have the best day ever. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you. If you'd like to give us extra smiles, drop us a review and spread the love by sharing this episode.
You can also rate your own state of burnout and the root cause contributors by taking our Ending Body Burnout assessment on our website. And if you're interested in learning about our group or one-on-one Ending Body Burnout programs, shoot us a DM via Instagram or Facebook.
Have the best day ever.